I think I am an example of how golf can be expensive to get into. Scouring Reddit threads, be like, okay, like I'm new to this hobby. What's considered cringe? If I'm not doing at least double turkey, I'm having a bad game.
Thank you so much for doing the show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, yeah. And you just want to start by saying who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Andre. I do short form golf videos on TikTok and IG Reels.
Nice. Why golf?
Um, I think like it started out as me being frustrated with how I was learning golf.
Okay.
And like stopping short of like taking actual lessons. I realized that I was coming to TikTok for swing advice and just scrolling and seeing like not just coaches, but other golfers at various stages of like developed swings,
Yeah.
and realizing that like, hey, I should be recording myself so that I can like kind of compare myself to where I want to be. And like with golf and with a lot of activities, the form is like everything. And generally, like if it looks effortless and is nice to watch, then they're probably going in the right spot. So it started out with just kind of recording it and realizing that like I could be one of the masses posting my swing at various stages of development for other people to maybe see and if like they have similar issues, and just to get like more feedback, because if there's one thing about golfers, they're going to tell you what you're doing wrong. So it's really like an easy way, like especially early on, to farm engagement, because my swing was so bad and people kept saying like, you got to get your hips out of the way, like you're swinging over the top and everything like that. So and then in addition to that, it's just kind of a fun way for me to kind of keep track of my golf journey. So
Yeah, yeah, because I guess that is true. It's like you film and then you're watching back the swing. To be honest with you, that sounds so scary to me, to like be like in the starting stages of something and being like, let me put that online.
it's yeah, I think like even now, like 2 years in and looking back, it's really hard for me to watch where it was. Like I like the memories of some of the courses I've played and like some of the stories that I tried to tell with like where I was at in my swing.
Yeah.
But just looking at it like from purely like a golf perspective, like it was so bad. Um,
Yeah, because immediately, obviously, my brain is like early stages of stand up. I'm like, some people really like to reminisce and be like, wow, look how far. And I'm like, I will throw those hard drives into a fire and I don't ever want to see what my stand up looked like 10 years ago.
yeah. And it's like, I think with a lot of like hobbies like that, where there's a lot of gear and just a big barrier to entry, like in terms of cost and like access. Cause like, it takes a lot to like just stroll onto a golf course and be like, I'm going to play some golf, versus like playing pickup basketball or somewhere where you just need like a ball and, you can shoot around. But I think like just watching so much of people posting like their bad swings too,
Yeah.
made me realize that just like, I don't have to be great to start. And it's okay. And like, people are very, like, I feel like people are very supportive of kind of the progression of like a golf journey, much like people are supportive of people starting out like a fitness journey or anything like that.
True. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, you're always going to have negativity of some sort, but it's like all of us, we cheer for an underdog, So it's like, I love following a story of someone growing. And that is the type of content I do want to watch, is someone that hasn't mastered it yet. That's more interesting and more relatable. But I do. So do you think golf is expensive to get into?
I think I am an example of how golf can be expensive to get into. The way that I started my golf journey was through like golf fashion.
Yeah.
I never had any interest in swinging a club or like getting onto a golf course, but a few years back, Macklemore put out his Bogey Boys clothing line, and I looked at the clothes, and I'd always thought that like golf clothes were like very cool and interesting, very like refined. So I just started buying them. And I kept buying them. And then Drake put out his Nocta golf line. I started buying that too. And I started wearing it and wearing it out, and like get comments from my girlfriend like, oh, like you look like a golfer. And I'd look at myself and be like, what am I doing? Like, I'm at the point where I've spent too much money on the clothes that golfers wear that I can't not be a golfer. And so that was my journey in. And like, yeah, I think I've still spent more money on golf clothes than I have on golf clubs and like probably rounds. And like, it just feeds into how with all my other hobbies, I'm unable to get into them in a chill way. It was like we were talking about earlier. Well, you got to have this, you got to have that. Like, I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. Which is funny because I post videos where clearly I don't know what I'm doing. But I feel like unless you're someone who's willing to go for like your dad's hand-me-down set, go like looking through the bargain bin in Goodwill, it can be pretty intimidating and things quickly add up just to get a full set of like 14 clubs, golf balls, and tee times are getting expensive too. So it can be pretty expensive for sure.
I can imagine that, because it's like, especially like let's say me, where it's like I don't know what I'm buying, like with golf clubs, right? So it's like I would hate to show up with all my friends and they're like, what are these? What are these ancient technology you brought? You know, I'm like, oh no, I bought the wrong stuff. So it's like, you know, I do that too. Like we were saying earlier, where it's just like anytime I get an interest or a hobby of some sort, I'm on eBay and Amazon being like, well, maybe I can get a deal on this thing that I saw, or like everyone's swearing by, you know. So
yeah. Or like scouring Reddit threads, be like, okay, like I'm new to this hobby, what's considered cringe, and like finding out like what to avoid, so that like when I'm stepping into this new intimidating space, that like I can like anticipate what I might be like called out for, and maybe try to avoid that, unless I don't care at all, and then just kind of own it. So
yeah, because I would assume that I would want, like, if I got into golfing today, I would assume that I would go to some kind of Goodwill or something and find a handful of clubs, and just knowing that I'm about to probably break them pretty soon, or you know, like ruin them pretty badly. And so it's like, but that stage of let me get those, and then I already know how I am. I would get that, I would take it, I would golf 2 times with it, and then immediately be like, yeah, what's the latest and greatest? Let me buy.
Exactly the same way. Yeah, for sure. Lucky for you, Zach, I have replaced so much of my equipment already that if you and I were to go golfing, I have a complete, like, full set of clubs for you to use. So
you're like, these are the hand-me-downs.
Yeah, and they're like 2 years old.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and then are you a lefty or a righty?
I am a righty.
Okay. And that's the common.
That's most common. I was actually speaking with someone about this recently, in that it's not a level playing field at all with manufacturers. They make so much less available for lefty golfers.
Yeah.
And so I was talking about, just for example, like a 7-wood is a club that's very trendy right now for male golfers. And I posted one on my Instagram story, and he was really jealous because he's like, I can't find that in a lefty. Like, they just don't make those. So yeah. Are you a lefty?
Well, I everything I learned righty for sure. I definitely was supposed to be a lefty, and it's a whole story. It's a whole story. I had a teacher that wouldn't let me do my homework with my left hand.
Oh my God.
When I was very little, and then it just kind of led to, like, I guess I'll learn everything right-handed. Huh. Yeah. So that's kind of like my origin story of that. But yeah, I just go righty on everything. And that is like part of it too, right? Is like, if someone that is a lefty learned how to golf righty, that would save them thousands of dollars probably.
A lot of headache and a lot less searching, because right-handed is just the norm. So.
Why is a 7 so popular right now?
It's traditionally, like, as I understand it, it's traditionally a club that like was more popular with women. I think it was just due to like the loft of the club at like about 21 degrees, and with just the shape of the club head, it's very forgiving and easy to launch compared to an iron of a similar loft. But some of the men on the PGA Tour started playing those clubs and having a lot of success with them, and pretty much the trends follow the success on tour, because that's like the biggest stage for golf to showcase the equipment. And so everyone's buying 7 woods right now.
That's so funny. It's funny to hear, because that happens with everything. I was literally talking about this earlier today. It's just like with everything in the world, like any career, anything you want to do, there's always like, here's these steps and here's how we do it. Until someone goes, yeah, but with a 7, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, now with this, it's like this, like everything is this way until it's not that way. And so it's so interesting that it's like golf has been around for a long time now. And now we're changing it, like we're going for a different approach. Yeah. Why? Okay. So do you use a 7 often? Is that like your go-to? Are you finding that that's what you want to do, or?
So I just got it like literally this weekend. I finally bought into the hype and went for it. Hit it a couple times at the shop. And the guy that was helping me out was pretty much just like, if you can find a way to work this into your setup, or if like you just want to just get it, because they didn't make too many of them in the specific brand and club head family that I was testing out. And it was on sale since it was a prior generation. So I took it home. I have a couple tee times booked later this week where I really want to test it out as much as possible, and bring it out, like hopefully when I'm in situations that call for it, and compare it to what I'm hoping to replace it, which is a 4 hybrid. So
okay,
yeah.
And then why should I get into golf?
That's a loaded question, man. There's so many angles of why you should get into it. I think the thing that makes it most appealing to me is it seems like anyone who does like any kind of sport eventually falls into it. Like all of the most popular athletes are doing that, like during their off seasons. LeBron James a couple days ago, like posted himself like playing golf. Finally, it's like, finally we got LeBron to start playing golf. That was a big deal in the golf world. But I would say that like the biggest thing that like is making me really excited about it is just like how long in theory I'll be able to like keep playing it.
That's a good point.
Yeah, like
I like that idea.
It's something that I can dedicate time to and hopefully play well into my later years. And like not feel like I have something to prove. Like it's like you said earlier, like golf isn't really something that you'll be able to master. Like no one will be able to master golf. There's always going to be some new improvements and everything.
Yeah, it's like it's changing and growing, it seems.
Yeah, and really like when you're out on the course, is such a cliche thing to say, but like your biggest obstacle is yourself. And it's like all the little things that you do during the week, whether it's like going to the range or just like getting a good night's sleep, can like really positively impact like your round on the weekend. And I think it's just like the endless chase is really, really prevalent in golf, and that'll keep me going. So.
Yeah, and I know, I've always heard that it is like more of a mind game than anything, and that makes sense. And also, I'll give you though, golf, best vehicle, golf carts.
Golf carts, yeah.
That's a cool. What sport do you get to do? That's a cool vehicle like that. Not much.
Formula One.
Formula One.
But like you also have to be incredibly rich for that. So.
Yeah. Entry level to that, pretty
high.
Pretty set.
Yeah.
I love a golf cart because here's why I would think about golfing. I love golf carts. I like the idea of being out in nature. I like that. I like being outside. But what holds me up from golf is I'm not a morning person. And also, what if I'm just done? You're with a group and you're like, I don't want to do 9 holes. You're on hole 6 and you're like, I think I'm just done. It's those holdups that I'm like, I don't want to be the person lagging behind in the group. I don't want to be the one that's like exhausted. You know, so those are my. What do you? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. So you want. There's not like necessarily like a baked in exit strategy.
Yeah.
That is like common. Yeah. Okay. I get it. I would say like in regards to like the morning thing, I'm also not a morning person.
Okay.
I thought I was until I got to college and started taking like 8 a.m. classes. It's like, okay, turns out I found out who I really am, and it's not a morning person. And I spent the entirety of my 20s like trying to like get back to becoming a morning person, and I'm still chasing that.
Why?
Because of golf. I golf mostly with my parents, and they're a ferry ride and a 20-minute drive away.
Okay.
And they're very much morning people. I'm talking like they're up at 5 a.m. They go to bed at 8:30.
That sounds horrifying. You know?
Yeah, I look at that. I'm like, I don't want any part of that. But
Yeah.
to like fit me into their golf schedule, they're like the first tee time out at 7 a.m. So
See, and that's the problem. It's like I get invited by my friends, and I'm like, that's great. I'll go play golf. But it's like 7, 8, and I'm like, if I gotta get up at 5, get ready, get over there, you know, I'm not gonna be in the golfing mood.
yeah, the appeal for it to me is that like because it's like a 4.5 hour affair, optimal conditions.
Okay.
Like if I get out there at 7 a.m., I'm done at 11. I still have like the rest of my day available to me. Versus like if I'm more of like we get out at noon or we get out at 1, chances are it's the hottest it'll be all day. Like,
Yeah.
Like, okay, now it's 80 degrees. A 4.5 hour affair puts us at like 4 or 5 p.m. And now it's like with commute time to get back to like home and like shower and get ready. Now your day's kind of over.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of the biggest appeal to me for morning tee times. I think the very next extreme end is like twilight rounds. So like getting on like some of the last tee times out. I've seen a lot of videos of golfers playing twilight rounds and like golfing like right as the sun sets. And I think like being out there like as it's cooling down and the sun's going down is really pretty. So I have yet to try a twilight round. But if that's like
they do that here in Seattle, like because you know our sun sets like it's like 9.
Yeah. I did like in the winter I did like a tee time that was at like 3 p.m.
Okay.
And we only did 9 holes because the sun sets at like 4.
Yeah.
And it was nice to be the last people out there. And then we brought like headlamps out because like it was just too dark to see the ball. And that was a fun experience, but I like to kind of see it more in like the summertime where I feel like twilight rounds are known for.
Okay. I mean, okay. You'd win me over with that. I like the idea of a twilight round because I also going back to like, you're like, well, you know, if you do the, you know, midday and then that takes up your whole day, I'm also okay with that. If my day was set for just golfing that day, that can be just fine, you know? So I get that, but this is the first I've heard of twilight rounds, and I'm intrigued.
Okay, Zach, if that's what it takes for us to get onto the course together, then I'll commit and we can try it out, and maybe that's what we do. Maybe that's our new thing.
All right, yeah, okay, we could try that out. I can break a couple of your old clubs for you.
Yeah, sounds great.
Do you take the golf cart with you, or are you walking all of it?
So when I'm golfing with my parents, I'm walking.
Yeah.
I have an electric push cart that some folks have like really fancy ones where you have a little remote control and it like you can kind of control where it goes. Mine isn't as fancy as that. It's a hand-me-down. So I push a button and it just kind of moves forward. And like golfing in Washington, there's a lot of hills. So for my family and I, it's important that like we keep some form of exercise present in golf, because if you're just riding around in a golf cart, you hop out every once in a while to swing or something. You're not really like exercising too much. Some people might disagree with that, but like, but when we're walking the course, you finish up, especially in Kingston where we play at Whitehorse. It's like an easy like 6.5, 7 miles when we're done. So we had fun, maybe like shot decently well, and we also like got a really good cardio workout out of it. And that makes it worth it from like a health standpoint.
How many steps do you think that is? You have any idea? You ever track that?
I have looked before. I want to say it's in like the 13s.
Okay. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
That's manageable.
And it's like, it's not all at once, right? Because you're
Yeah.
stopping and like kind of talking around. You go find your ball, you hit it, and then you keep walking more. But yeah, in the aggregate, it's really great exercise walking.
Yeah.
But when you play a fancy course and like the cart fee is included anyways, because it's extra to ride in a cart, right? It's like $30 per person. It's
Per
like
person?
Yeah. So each person who's riding the cart pays, which is crazy that there's not
How
just
do they,
one fee for
How
the
do they
cart.
track that?
Well, when you check in, you see how many people on like you've booked for, and then you say, oh, we'll get 2 carts because only 2 people fit on a cart. And then each person has to pay like $30 to $40 to rent the cart.
You can't be like, these people they're not riding the cart.
You can. You can. I think that would affect like pace of play a little bit. That's like a huge thing, is like not holding up people. And
Yeah.
like if 2 of you are like really fast and you got to wait for the people who are slow because they're walking,
Yeah,
then
for
that
sure.
can kind of mess up the flow and everything. But
I've been that person. I've gone golfing and been the person that's so slow that they're like, we'll be ahead. We'll wait for you.
Just like
Up
walking?
here. Like, we're just like, no, just that I had to take so many swings that they were like,
oh, gotcha.
you know what? We'll come back.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
We'll come back for you.
Yeah. So maybe for us, we start at like, do you know what like an executive or like a practice course is?
No,
like,
what are those terms? They sound
um,
expensive.
They're it does sound really like executive, but it really means is it's just a short par 3 course. So it's
Okay.
9 holes, but they're not long at all. They're just to like kind of practice like for a full layout. There's one in Beacon Hill at Jefferson Park that every day for like summer I was just out there practicing, and it's like the idea of like walking and doing 9 holes, but very like short and low stakes. It takes you maybe like an hour and a half. And it's just a good way to kind of practice like the idea of playing golf.
Okay. Didn't know that existed. That's fun.
Yeah. I think that helps to lower the kind of like
Yeah.
the intimidation factor of playing.
For sure.
It's just getting on those where there's no expectations. Like you're not really holding anyone up. But it's still really fun and challenging for anyone who does it. So
Yeah. Do you do Top Golf?
I do when like there are events like,
Oh, really?
say like someone's birthday party, or last month it was my best friend's wedding, and for his bachelor party we went to Top Golf as like one of our activities for the day. I think it's fun for parties. It's very expensive.
It's pricey. You gotta have like a good group of people.
Yeah. But otherwise I think that most people who like are like really serious about golf would just go to the driving range because it's cheaper. It's considered cringe in the golf community to bring your own clubs to Top Golf. So you know,
Really?
yeah.
Why?
Because you're hitting like kind of heavier balls that have like the Top Golf like kind of tracking in it, and it's not
Okay.
like considered for other reasons. It's not just considered real golf. So you hit their clubs, you have fun, you drink and whatever. But
I love that. But there's cringe when you're like, it's just golf. Like,
yeah,
we're just hitting balls here.
yeah, for sure.
That's fun. Yeah, I like Top Golf for parties for sure. I've definitely only been a few times. I've also only been to a driving range once, I think. And they seem like they're probably like different levels of driving ranges, where it's like some really nice ones, some that are just kind of a field. Do you do the driving ranges, or you just mostly just do the golf?
I try to go to the driving range like once or twice a week.
Yeah.
There's one that's just 10 minutes from my house, so I'm really blessed to just be able to hop in the car and go.
That's nice.
And like I agree that there's different levels of driving range. There's something to say for the one that's 10 minutes away from me. It's got like double deckers worth of bays, so I usually don't have an issue finding an open spot. But for those, you're hitting exclusively off of mats, versus like the nicer driving ranges are ones where you're hitting literally on the grass, so you can get the feel of hitting like what it's like to hit off of like real course conditions, in a sense. That's the kind of driving range that my parents have at the club that they're members at. And so I like both, but the convenience of having one 10 minutes away in a city is incredible. So, and it's a fun, like kind of like way to build community too, because like the more you go, you start to see familiar faces who are also working on developing their swing.
That's true. I guess you'd be a regular there.
You'd be a regular, yeah. People know you, and then it's not like as jarring when you're pulling out your camera to set up a tripod and film your swing for TikTok. So yeah,
that's probably true. Yeah, I'm trying. You know, I haven't been in Seattle long, so I'm trying to be a regular at places. I'm working on it. You know, because I think that there's something valuable of being like a regular at like a restaurant or a bar or something. And like, do you feel like you built that at your driving range where you're like, people know you?
I have a little bit. Yeah. I've played around with a few of the employees that work there.
Oh, dope.
I come often enough that like I walk into the pro shop, and sometimes I don't have to give the guy like my name to like turn on one of the like machines at the range that like tracks your distance and everything.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have like that familiarity, like you're saying,
what a feeling.
sense of community. And I would love to have that everywhere I go. But I guess you have to be really famous to do that. So.
You gotta be famous, or you gotta go somewhere a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like that's your schedule, and you can't mess that up because the moment you're gone, it's gone.
Yeah, and you haven't been able to do that yet. Like there isn't like a coffee shop where they just kind of be like, oh,
not really. Just working on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to build that up. You know, it doesn't help that I travel a lot. It is funny though, because there is a there's a gas station between Seattle and Portland that I stop at when I'm on the road doing gigs, and I fill up there. And there was a moment there where I was there every weekend for a while, and so I became a regular at a place that I live like 2 hours away from.
Wow. Okay, so like you've done it a bit for sure.
Trying, but I would love to have that in my day-to-day life. Man, that would be nice. To just be a regular at places.
I believe in you. I think you'll be able to do it. Maybe by the end of the year. I'm manifesting that for you.
I'm trying, man. Yeah, I'm hoping for that. So then I guess like I always ask this on the podcast too, is like, what's your relationship with social media then? Because like, you're making this content, your hobby is kind of tied in now with the content. How are you feeling about social media?
I think it's interesting. Like I would say that my closest friends that enjoy seeing like my golf stuff, they're not on TikTok. And I got tired of sending them links that they can't open, because you have to have a TikTok account now to be able to like view a video on TikTok.
I didn't know that.
And so that kind of inspired me to start posting some of that stuff like on Instagram. At first I was just doing it on my personal Instagram. But I was realizing that like I wasn't getting like any traction. I feel like most people who start posting on Instagram like from TikTok, they don't get as much traction as they like maybe thought that they would. And so then I kind of blamed it on my friends. And I'm like okay, like I post on stories a lot. I'd say that like these days I am more active posting stories than I am making posts. And I think like it gets to a point where once you become a story poster, that like your regular posts just don't, like, they're just destined to not do as well, because people are happy to watch your stories, but they're not willing to like your posts. And I think that's a phenomenon that I kind of experienced became more aware of once I started posting my golf stuff. So I created a separate golf account on IG Reels to start posting like the stuff from TikTok on, and those ones I now share to my story from that page. And I think that I have a kind of a good balance of separation between Andre the person and Andre the golfer. Yeah. But I'll still post on my personal Instagram account that I'm like, oh, I'm at the golf course, I'm doing this. So that's kind of the relationship I have with it. I think I went through, when I was a bit younger, I went through a phase of like really obsessing over numbers and engagement, because the very first kind of like content stuff I dabbled in was I was a Twitch streamer in a previous life. And I got really like self-conscious about like how many people would take their time out of the day to like watch me play video games. And like I had like an okay kind of like community for the games that I played. But it became apparent to me that like once I wanted to kind of get out of the pigeonhole that I had locked myself in, I played a lot of FIFA and League of Legends,
Okay.
which is a weird content mix to have, but it kind of worked for me for a little bit.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah, but then they became kind of a chore to me, and I wanted to start doing more variety stuff. And I realized that like I kind of lost like my core audience for that. And I was like, okay, well now I need more help from like my friends. And then I was like, okay, well they're like my friends, I love them, they're great, but they're like, it's hard for them to take time out of their day to like watch me in an active type of environment where like Twitch, it's like there's no it's not passive where like I can upload it to like TikTok or YouTube or something and like then they can watch it later and support.
Yeah.
I just wasn't getting that, and like went through a whole phase of like being frustrated with that. But now that I've pivoted over to something that I can kind of like upload and like share around, and for later, I feel like I have a good relationship with it now.
Yeah, because like that's the thing with Twitch, where it's like Twitch, you know, not only do your friends have to have some kind of Twitch account and know what it is, and then also want to watch games. There's a lot of like steps into that versus like, yeah, if you can just meet them where they are on, you know, social media. And like what I like about your content is like when when you come up in my feed, it's also bite size and it's also easy to kind of digest of like what you're talking about and what you're doing in your videos, that it's easy for me to get engaged, where it's like I didn't know you, but I was watching and I'm like, yeah, let's watch him work on his swing. Let's watch him work on, you know, I'm like invested for no reason.
Yeah, no. And I really like hearing that feedback, because I had felt like for a long time that the stuff I was posting, only golfers were watching it. So it's really refreshing to hear that like you saw some of my stuff on your feed and you're someone who's like, oh, I don't play golf. Like you know, but like you are like interested in seeing this stranger like get a little bit better. and everything. So that's really great to hear.
Yeah. I think like, you know, what pulls me in is like good storytelling is helpful. And then like a task, right? Where it's like, I'm watching you at a certain hole, try to get better than last time you're at that hole or whatever it is. And so I think there's probably more people like me watching your content than you realize, because there's a lot of people where it's like, I'm not commenting, you know, I'm just hitting like and moving on, because I don't really have anything to add to the conversation, but I'm like excited for you, you know? Yeah. So it's like, and I feel like, you know, with my like, my gaming channel, that's kind of like what I get a feedback from my friends, at least too, is like, they don't fix systems or work on electronics, but they're like, it's cool to watch, you know, it's soothing or whatever it is, you know? So yeah, it's like pulling those people in. It's like, I think that's how you get the wider audience, is just having something like that that's like easy to digest but interesting.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely gonna like help me keep going. I'm on right now, I would say that my focus is on like more so improvement than anything else, hitting specific milestones. So the last few videos that I posted are about the concept of breaking 90. Are you familiar with like scoring like in golf, or like?
I know that scoring is good, and I know that you want a low number.
Okay. Cool.
Got it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So like, I'll explain a little bit. So the idea of breaking 90 on your typical course layout, like par for the courses on the typical layout is 72.
Okay.
And if you play 18 holes and you score 1 over par on every hole, then you'll get 90. So so the benchmark is like, that's bogey golf, is averaging like 1 over on every single hole that you play. And so the idea is that like, if I can shoot below 90, then like I've hit a milestone, and I can like say that I'm kind of at a new, like, I guess, category of trying to get like consistency and improvement there. So
yeah.
And that's like what I'm really focusing my recent videos on, is like what I'm doing to try to get there.
Yeah.
So like I'm hoping that like that'll come across to the like non-golfers that might see my content and wondering what that is. So
yeah, I mean, I'm invested now. I'm like, I want to see that happen. Didn't know that existed until now. And but it is like, because I'm very project based, And so I like that that's a project where it's like that is a end goal that could be amount of time, and then you're like, okay, I'm better at golf because of this, and that leads to these things. I guess like that makes me want to ask you, like, what are your goals with golf for 2025?
I would say that my goals right now are to decrease my handicap to get out of the 20s.
Okay.
So right now I'm kind of teetering on the edge. My handicap is sitting right at 20, which is right about where someone who would be like on the cusp of breaking 90 would probably sit. Like it's a lot of like, yeah, I'm talking about projects. It's a lot of gradual milestones where it's first like, okay, can we break 100, get out of the triple digits in terms of scoring?
Yeah.
Now, can we do it consistently? Can we break 90? And then at that point, if we're doing that consistently, maybe we consider moving back a full tee box to make the entire course longer at every hole. And basically resetting the goals again. Like, can I maintain this performance or a similar level of performance if now suddenly every hole is that much more difficult? And so I would say that the biggest goal for myself is just to like have that number, that handicap number, decrease by just like 2 to 3 like whole number points, just so I can have a definitive like mark next to my name of like my playing ability has for sure increased, and this is the number that currently represents that.
Yeah. Because like that's great, because that's kind of like with stand up, where it's like with stand up you're like learning to do. I mean, first you're learning how to hold a microphone and stand on a stage, and then you're like, can I do 5 minutes? Can I do 10 minutes? And then like you start getting to like, can I do an hour of comedy? And then like once you're like in that box, you quickly realize like, oh, I'm like in this headliner box that puts me into like a certain category and puts me with like certain people that can only do that in my city or state. And so it's like, it seems like that's kind of like a similar thought process, which is helpful to kind of like, yeah, where do I fall and what should my goals be? And then that makes me wonder, like with your like videos and your content, are you like, what are your goals with that? Are you hoping to like travel the country doing the content, or like, what are your goals for your social media?
I'm sure any golfer that starts putting videos out is hoping that they, strike gold and get to do it full time and just get paid to like play like some of the biggest influencers out there are.
Yeah.
I would say that like that's a really fun dream to have. I'm pretty content in the career that I have professionally, and that helps fund like this lifestyle. I've had some success in terms of like video like view numbers, and also just like connections that I've made. Like having people reach out to me from the Seattle area who like want to set up a tee time with me because they've seen my videos. Like
cool.
That's huge for me, because most of my immediate friends don't golf. So it's mostly just me and my parents every weekend, which is great. I love them. They're awesome. But it would be fun to kind of like start playing more with people around my age. And I love that putting myself out there on like TikTok has helped me find kind of a bit of like local community that I can set up tee times with. And having like a video that's done well enough that the course that the video was taken on has reached out to me to like post my video like on their like page. So it's like those are kind of like steps in like the direction of like, okay, well, are you like maybe on the path to becoming a golf influencer? And I'm just kind of taking it as it goes. I don't have a specific like goal or like following number that I want to hit. I want to just take it one step at a time and focus on putting my stuff out there and just hoping the right people find it.
Yeah. So it seems like golf is first. The videos are kind of like a fun part of that. And then in that like building community, seems like that's kind of like the importance of it for you.
Yeah, I would say so. And it's like just a fortunate side effect of being dedicated to the improvement and just the sport itself, that like I can film it, people will find it interesting, and then like all of that is just kind of like extra like bits of the enjoyment for me. So because if I stayed at the level that I was for the entirety of the time that I was making videos and putting stuff out there, I'd probably be really frustrated with myself for lack of progress. And it has nothing to do with how many followers I have, how many views the videos are getting. It's just like, I'm not getting better at this hobby that I'm putting so much time outside of work and everything and spending so much money on. So yeah, it's definitely number one for me is the skill.
Yeah. Cause that's something I've been thinking about a lot is my past hobbies don't help make friends. And so it's like I like the idea of something like golf where it can be very community based and it can be like you can get a group of people together and like even if it's just Top Golf, it's something, or playing around, like that seems great to have that, because it's like one of my main hobbies is like working on electronics, and it's like that's very solo. That's very by yourself, finishing a project. But I met like cool people in the gaming community because of it. But they're also just kind of like working at their house or working in their shop in some sort of way. So there's not like you're not like hanging out, which also leads me to like another community thing that you do is bowling. Another hobby of getting people together and just being outside of the house, which is great.
Yeah. Bowling has a lot more similarities to golf than I think probably both communities would like to admit.
Okay.
And in the sense of like community building, bowling is a place where I found what we were just talking about earlier, where like I found a place to be a regular.
Oh, nice.
And so it's like going to the same bowling alley every week and bowling with the same group of people. You start to recognize a lot of the same people that are also going regularly. Now all the staff knows who you are. They just bring you your drink of choice when they see you, and it feels very rewarding to like have somewhere to like have community outside of home and outside of golf, and just another space for me. But yeah, I've been bowling casually competitively now for like the last 3 years with
what's that mean, casually competitively?
So my girlfriend's brother got us we go to a local bowling alley, and pre-COVID it was the spot for us to like have a cheap activity to do and also a cheap thing to drink at, because it was, I think, like you paid a small cover charge, and then every like game of bowling was a quarter. And there were $1 and $2 beers, so it was a very cheap activity to just like get friends together and like go, and they would have that every Wednesday and Sunday night.
I mean, that's incredible.
And like it was amazing. We always got people to go with us, and then COVID happened, and then like it could never come back, probably because just the business wouldn't survive like with that model anymore. But at some point, once we came back, we said we do this so much, like why don't we try to like join a bowling league and like kind of bowl semi like casually competitively, because you're still there to like drink and like have fun with your friends, but now there's kind of like an end goal where it's like we want to like improve and bowl really well. And Zach, similar to golf, it's something that I just could not get into in a chill way.
I was like, you're in a league, so that definitely that seems like you're committed, because I know there's like fees for that, and you probably have matching shirts. And
we've got 2 sets of matching jerseys that we've worn as part of our bowling team. And like once I started attempting to like have any sort of consistent technique with bowling, then it became very apparent to me like how deep the equipment side of it could go. Fast forward like 2 or 3 months, now I have 4 custom bowling balls fit to my hand. I've got like the most expensive bowling shoes you can buy, because they're a limited edition, like collab with one of the most famous bowlers that there is, who is kind of like an equipment like hype beast himself. So it all kind of plays into it, and it has similar community to golf, where there's extreme allegiance to the different brands that exist within bowling.
Really?
And it's like, it's wild if you cross like party lines, and everything. And like that all exists in golf just like it exists in bowling.
I knew golf was very like brand loyal for sure. Like that's like a big piece in that I had no idea with bowling though. I had no idea that. Also, I didn't know there was collabs happening. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking like you have these custom balls, and I was like, well, they can't just be in a backpack. You got to get a custom.
I've got a big roller that I bring with me every week. And in addition to that, I have a locker at the bowling alley where I store bowling shoes and a couple of my bowling balls as well. So I'm in.
You're in, man.
I'm in incredibly deep, and thankfully, I'm pretty nasty at bowling. Like I'm way more consistent and developed in bowling than I am at golf.
Yeah. How many turkeys you gotten?
Turkeys? How many? Like. I really don't want to like seem like I'm tooting my own horn here, but like
come on.
I don't like I truly don't think I'm having a good game unless I've thrown like 6 or 7 strikes in a row.
Okay.
And I've gotten to the point where like
what's a turkey, like 3?
Turkey's 3 strikes.
Yeah.
So
okay.
if I'm not doing at least double turkey, I'm having a bad game. And once you start bowling in leagues and trying to like be good, like it kind of takes the fun out of the small moments where if I get up there and I bowl a strike, it's like, okay, that I was supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Like, so now and now when you see people who are bowling casually and just having fun, they throw a strike, everyone cheers. And
it's a big deal.
And it's a big deal. And I sometimes I do kind of long for that moment where it's like, oh, awesome. Like I threw a strike. That'll never happen again. It's gone.
Burned it.
I'm supposed to do it every single time.
Yeah.
So
I bowled a good amount for a minute there in high school. We had like I don't know if your school did this, but my school had like where you could sign up and do like a bunch of activities. It's like, I don't remember what they called it. It wasn't like advanced PE, but it was like something like that.
Advanced PE?
It was something like that where it's just like we would like heavily do bowling for a while and have like an internal tournament, and then we would do like badminton, and we would leave the school to go.
You would go to a bowling
alley during the day, which was like, that's all I needed to hear. I just needed to hear that I would leave school for like an hour. I'm like, yeah. And so I did that, and I got into it, and then I was like at the point of like ordering bowling balls, had like a list made type of, I was in it for a minute there, and then I left high school and it all kind of faded away, but I could see myself easily just dropping into that mode.
Okay,
sure.
That's very dangerous of you to reveal that information because you might get recruited to the bowling team, Zach. The unfortunate thing about like with the way that bowling leagues works is with the league that we bowled, it's a handicap league. So like in golf, there are handicaps as well, and that helps to create a level playing field when you're bowling in a league that has a wide like range of people at different bowling skill levels. And basically, we weren't that great when we first started the very first league that we did.
Yeah.
But because and we had definitely had some like first league jitters of like, okay, now there's like stakes involved, and we bowled way worse than we ever like kind of bowled to kind of start out our league season. And because of that, we set ourselves with like pretty high handicaps, which once we kind of got back to normal, now worked in our favor because we were overperforming what our handicap index was. And now we were just beating like every team simply because of how we started. And so the very first bowling league that we entered, we won the championship, got like bowling pin trophies and like extra cash on top of it. So
I want a trophy. I want a bowling trophy. That sounds, is it like a person? What's the trophy look like? Is it someone bowling?
I say it's literally just a bowling pin, but it says like champions on it.
I mean, that's still cool.
Yeah, and just like it's a cool because like the bowling alley gave it to you and like it's here. But
did you guys get photos with like Mr. Bowling himself or something they do anything? Like, what's the celebration look like for that?
The celebration is on the last day. Everyone bowls an individual tournament.
Okay.
And then they kind of do an awards thing where the owner of the bowling alley reads out like how everyone did, and calls out the league champions. We're the Expendables. That's our team name. And yeah. And we walk up there.
I hate that I like it.
Yeah, we walk up there. We take our pins, take photos, and then we're the defending champs. And that's also a bit of like how everyone came to know us, because we were like a team that won. So
the
we
underdogs that came in and destroyed.
Yeah. And then like another like part of bowling that I love, and just in anything, in golf included, is like wherever there's controversy. If it's like controversial to do something a certain way, that like makes me want to do it.
Okay.
And with bowling, it's bowling two-handed. So I bowl two-handed.
Okay.
And there are
like granny style?
Not granny style. It's more like I have two hands on the bowling ball.
Okay.
And as I take it back, it's kind of cradled like this. And
Okay.
as I bring it forward, my left hand comes off, and then I follow through with my right, kind of like a basketball shot.
Oh, okay.
In the way that the left hand doesn't actually do anything, it just kind of helps secure the bowling ball where it
it's
is.
like when your friends are lifting a couch and then that person in the middle is like, me too. Like they're like a little bit.
Yeah, that's my left hand. Yeah. And so, but it's kind of seen as like cheating by people who throw the ball more conventionally, because I don't use my thumb in the bowling ball, and that's the biggest hurdle to being able to generate like hook, or like to be able to curve the ball.
Yeah.
And there are bowling conservatives that think that method of bowling should be illegal.
I love that.
Yeah, and as soon as I heard that, I was like, I'm doing it. I'm
I
converting
love
over.
it. You're convincing me that I'm going to go in there and I'm going to change how I do all of it.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so funny. I mean, because it's like, did it knock the pins down? That's all, like, that's it.
Yeah, everyone's goal is the same, is to knock 10 pins down at the end, and it doesn't.
Yeah,
like,
you could be like, I start on my head and I spin it and then I shoot it out. I'll be like, whatever, as long as it knocks the pins down. I don't.
It knocked 10 pins down, like it counts the same as a strike for anyone else.
Yeah. I'm getting those strikes, baby.
Yeah, and I love that in bowling you can see, like, if you're up there bowling league with like all these teams around you, you can look to your left and right, and not one person is bowling exactly the same. Like there's no one set way of doing something, and like that's something that's really interesting to me, is being able to see all those different forms. Kind of like how baseball pitchers, everyone throws the ball different. And like how golf, everyone has like a very different swing. Like the end goal might be the same of where you want to put it, but how you get there is going to be different by person, just by build, by like how they stand to the ball and everything like that. And that's the part that I love, that there's just so much variety.
Yeah, just going back to like when we're talking about the 7, where it's like there's a way to do it until someone does it differently, and then you're like, now there's this way of doing it. It's like that's really interesting. Where it's like, because I obviously bowl the same way everyone that is taught to bowl, just kind of, nothing special. So it's like interesting to hear different approaches to it. How many people are in your team?
So there's 4 of us that bowl each night, and there's 32 teams in the league. So
okay. And does that 4 change? Do you have like 8 people total and you switch them out, or?
It has in the past.
Yeah.
Based on just like availability, and like
that's why I assumed
sometimes people like injure themselves doing other things, and like they can't bowl, so then we'll need to like find a substitute or something like that. But
not my bowling arm.
Yeah. Should start using that as an excuse. Oh, I can't, sorry babe, I can't take out the trash, my bowling arm.
Chop those vegetables. My bowling arm.
Yeah, but generally the same 4 people. We've had people who like maybe their schedule shift at work, that they like can no longer make the time that we do it, and so it's rotated a bit within the last few seasons, but the one constant is myself and my girlfriend's brother. We're the 2 kind of like steady eddies of the team, and generally whenever like a new league pops up, we're asking around like who wants to bowl with us. So
yeah,
Zack?
it's hard to. Maybe I don't know. It's hard to get people to do anything. So it's like committing to a league is definitely a big thing, for sure. Do you guys have team meetings? Do you guys have like, or like just a team group chat, or how's that work?
I mean, like the most we'll have is like a team group chat. We don't take it too seriously in that sense where we have team meetings. The most we'll do is after we bowl league, we'll just like maybe cool down and bowl a couple games for fun. And that's kind of the time for us to like, if you want to get better, like figure out something that like wasn't working for you, then you can kind of like do it in a low stakes kind of environment with like all of us there to watch. But yeah, that's like kind of the most we do as a team other than bowling.
Yeah,
So
because I'm always worried. Here's my fear. I worry that I would join your team, and then I would be trying to organize where you guys come over and I have a projector and we're watching the play footage.
watching tape, reviewing tape. Okay. I thought you were going to say.
And then I'm like, guys, we got to get on this.
You know, and maybe that's what we need to return to our winning ways. Is maybe I need to start bringing a tripod to all of like the bowling nights, similar to how I do it like on the golf course, and just start filming that, and maybe I'll do bowling TikTok as well.
You should. You should.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like always worried about being on a team because I just take everything too too extreme. So it's like I don't know if I can chill on a team, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's just me personally. Like even personally, I'm like doing that. Like as soon as I podcast, I'm like, how do I make it the best podcast? You know, like that's how I approach everything. So it's just like just a lot.
Yeah. I like that mentality, Zach. We'll make a bowler out of you, and you'll join the team. We'll get you your custom shirt. Everyone gets a shirt. So
I do like a custom shirt.
Yeah, it'll say your name on it and everything.
That's pretty. I mean, do you just wear that out sometimes, or?
It's for battle only.
Battle only. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think other people on the team would, but
yeah,
for me, it's for bowling only.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for doing the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm glad we finally got to like connect and do this because we kind of messaged like a couple months ago. Like,
it's been in the works.
Yeah, and now we finally got to do it, and we're here. So
yeah. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, so I'm on TikTok and Instagram at Andre on the Fairway. I'm not often on the fairway, but I'm working on it. So yeah.
All right. And then I always ask, like, I think I already know the answer, but like, where do you live? Like, where do you feel like you spend most of the time? Is it TikTok or is it Instagram?
I'm mostly on TikTok, is where like most of my crafted posts go, but I kind of just shit post on Instagram, on my personal Instagram, and post stories mostly, and all the good stuff from TikTok makes its way over to Instagram. So
nice.
Either or.
Okay. Yeah. And all that will be in the show notes. People can give you a follow, check out the content. Yeah. And, maybe next time they see us together, we'll be doing some bowling or some golfing. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Some sort of guest feature or something.
Yeah. Some collab.
Yeah. I'm excited. We got to make that happen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks for doing the show. I appreciate it. And I've been your host, Zack Lyman. This has been Zack Lyman Podcast. Outro music.